Hi, I'm Alex Twinspark, and after a long hiatus, we're back with some more Twinspark reviews. And you might remember in the last one, on the Zesty Miata, we made a bit of a joke about how it's been very difficult to get anywhere toward a review with my 2003 MR2. But not today! Because it's here! It's not fixed. Got some issues, and I'll get into them in a bit, but it is drivable. So finally, after trying literally from day one to film this car, we're finally there. So today we've got a 2003 Toyota MR2, specifically, as you can probably tell from me leaning on it, my car. I've had it for a year. It's been a love-hate relationship, to say the least. Yeah, it's had its faults, but despite everything, it is here today. So I want to actually finally do a proper review and talk about what it's like to own and live with this car. Because bear in mind, this is my only vehicle. Well, my only roadworthy vehicle, the Alpha notwithstanding. It has issues to live with day to day, but it's also not quite as bad as you might think. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, I usually start in these by going over the outside and talking about the styling, but first I want to contextualize why I bought this, or at least one of the reasons. So, long-time viewers of this channel, you'll know that I used to have a Alfa Romeo 147. It's where I get the Twinspark part of Alex Twinspark. And that is a aggressive-looking hot hatch. Warm hatch. Okay, it's like a microwave meal, you know, when you put it in and the inside's like scalding hot, but the rest of it's quite cold? That of hot hatches. And as it was, I loved that car to bits and I miss it every day, but it had to go. It was too far gone, and I thought, what's the complete opposite I can go for? So front-wheel drive, front-engine hot hatch replaced with a mid-engined rear-wheel drive sports car. But one of the things that drew me to this over other things I'd looked at was, yes, things like the weight and the drivetrain and what have you, but it was the styling. Because the Alfa was a very aggressive-looking car and people didn't really get it. People thought, oh, well, what's that about? Whereas what I love about this is it's so soft. It's got big, friendly eyes, which I often mark as when you lock it, it looks like a blushing anime girl. It's small, it's very cute and petite. Everything on it is very small. These mirrors are very small. It's very proportional, it's very cute. It's not threatening at all. And the second I got it, people kind of liked it. People were like, oh, it's a cute looking sports car. It's completely non-threatening. It's like a friendly little dog. As much as I love how cute it is as well, the other thing is it's covered in little sort of design cues and little details that make it feel, for want of a better word, because I know it sounds a bit childish, like a race car. For example, this bonnet strake in the middle leads up to a little air vent and it kind of curves in and over like that. And when you look at that, I think, oh, Le Mans racer. And you look at these, the light sort of mould I get, it folds over again like a race car. So when you're sat in the driver's seat and you're looking out over the bonnet, it feels like when you're in Forza or anything like that, and you feel like you're driving this race car, because in your head, from growing up as a kid, you see that race car. You see those curves, you see all that kind of thing. And I know that's a very odd way of describing it, but it's one of my absolute favourite things about this is, even though it's only got 140 brake, supposedly, it makes you consistently think you're in a much faster car, but not from the way it drives necessarily, just from the way everything looks and feels and kind of sounds. Now, there is one thing majorly with the look I don't particularly like, and it's the colour. I don't know why, if you were buying a fun, chuckable little sports car, toy kind of thing, you'd buy it in black. Now, admittedly, it's not as bad as the silver ones. I think the silver on these is incredibly just sad. It robs them of all their character. But if you're having a happy, fun little sports car, pick a happy, fun colour. Now, I'm aware I'm saying this, and I own this vehicle. To put that into context, I'm not good at buying cars, ever. I did improve with this one. So the first one I looked at was a cat C write-off, and for once I didn't buy that one. I would have initially gone in for that. I've learned a bit from my past, But this was the first non-Cat C1 light I looked at, and I took it home straight away. So it did have issues. It had a rust hole on the driver's side. The bumper, I didn't realise, actually broken. They've clipped that on their wall reversing out at some point. There's got a hole in that. The rear under tray was held on with zip ties. The sun visor on the passenger side was missing a screw, so that's gone now. Weight reduction. And there are several other issues with it that, again, I'll get into as we go through. But to try and make it a bit, you know, a bit more characterful, I've put plenty of red all over it, because obviously red interior, the red sun's racing, it's a bit more unique now. See, I got to pick my little brother up from school all the time, and all the kids get really excited, because obviously at the moment, due to a broken exhaust, I'll get into that later, and the red sun's racing and things like this all over the car, and the little racing inspired things, they all think it's a really loud race car, and they all get really excited when they see it, and that does make every drive really fun. I think it's always good to be that person that inspires the kids into liking cars, so there's always that. There are impracticalities to having a small sports car, so let's have a look at the boot, shall we? So as you can see on the MR2, the boot has an engine in it. Mid-engined, forgot. Now because it's in the front of the car, it's got a bonnet latch, so excuse my posterior, but that is your boot. It's not the biggest, even though it's full of my junk. It's big enough for a space saver, spare tyre, some oil for when it inevitably leaks it all over your driveway and gets your mother across at you. I wouldn't know about that. And that's about it for front storage. There is in the cabin an actual centre storage bit, which is a bit bigger. But even that isn't particularly useful. So if you've got lots of shopping to carry, MR2, not for you. Now before I move on to go talk about other parts of the car, there is something I really, really don't like about it. You'll notice that to make this front trunk, if you will, look pretty, they've given it this big plastic sheeting. Now that does come off, because if you ever want to change the bulbs on this whole plastic tray, the whole thing has to come out, which is why I haven't put any of the plastic fittings back in, because turns out it's a real pain. I think there are 27 in total to change a bulb. Not that you have much space anyway, because this is even smaller somehow than a front-engined car, space-wise, to change a bulb in. I don't know what Toyota were doing there, but it wasn't great. Now, we've talked about storage, let's talk about the engine and the slight modifications I've made to it. But to do that, again, we've got to go back to the back of the car, so that's that way. So obviously, to talk about the engine and any modifications I've made, because really they're all at the back, we have to come to the back of the car. Now, what the MR2 comes with from stock is the Toyota 1ZZ FE, a 1.8 double overhead cam, 140 supposedly horsepower when it was new. Now, as you can see from the looks of the engine bay, it isn't wholly stock. There is an aftermarket warm air intake, providing nothing but a bit of noise and also chipping away at the battery. I'm sure it's safe. It hasn't blown up yet, hopefully. And back here, as you can probably tell, is the exhaust, and it has been a constant nightmare child the entire ownership of this car. So that there is the manifold. That's the remnants of one of the bolts that holds it in. So as you can see, that's not in the best of conditions, but that is a D-cap manifold. That is going into a sports cat, which leaks. Cat's just, the flexi is gone, which goes into the second back box this car has had, because the first one leaked as well. This exhaust, more holes in it than the Titanic, but it's loud, which is something, I guess. The other modification I made to this car, also visible from the back, are these adjustable arms. They're not adjusted to be anything special, they're just there. And as you can see from this slightly awkward camera angle, the oil filler cap is in a very awkward position because this engine is meant to be in the front of a Toyota Celica. So it's not really designed to be in the back of a car. So to get to the oil cap, it's kind of this maneuver. And good luck filling that up without a funnel. So, as you can see, yeah, that's how inconvenient it is. There's no milk in it though, so that's good. To address the lack of continuity in the following shots, I have to explain that the reason why the roof is down is because it's a lot easier for Joe to film the interior with the roof off, as it turns out it's quite a small and cramped interior and it's quite a large camera. Now, obviously, as you can tell, the owner of this car is a bit shorter than I am, so... That's better. So, in terms of interior amenities, there aren't many, let's be honest. I've got fans. I've got a radio, which does work. There's an ashtray. In fact, despite the fact this isn't a particularly low spec of the car, the previous, or I guess first owner, decided not to spec air conditioning. Weight reduction, I guess. Now, it does have these cup holders, which plenty of sports cars don't. There is an issue with it, and for that I need my glamorous assistant. Thank you, darling. Now, this is a large coffee cup from Ann Burger chain. And say you're now running late for work, it's a night shift, and you've gone to buy a coffee because, you know, you're tired and you want to get over the night shift. So you put that in there, and as you come out of your drive-through, it's on a slight hill. Because of how low this is, and how hot the coffee is, and how full the coffee is, it tips straight onto your knees and burns you quite badly before you go on your night shift. So you're left in already quite a bad mood from the night shift, and even worse mood from having a burnt knee. The other thing as well is because of the location, and this isn't just Toyotas that do this, a lot of European cars do this weirdly, they put it straight in front of the radio, which means not only do you block off all your buttons, which you need to operate the radio with the cup, you end up getting condensation in the CD serve slot, ruining your radio from the inside. It's a truly awful design. I can only assume Toyota did this because it was parts bin, and this is, you know, just bits from the Celica, the RAV4, whatever, just left lying around. But yeah, not the best design there, lads. Not gonna lie. In terms of build quality in here as well, it is actually surprisingly good. This is a 19-year-old, you know, not amazingly expensive car. Nothing really creaks or, you know, cracks or anything like that. What you will find is some bits that have, you know, had excessive wear do come off fairly easily, and there are some certain bits in this that are kind of designed to come off fairly easily because this is a very parts bin, click and play car kind of thing. But with it being parts bin, you do get quite a basic interior. It's not very special in here. It doesn't feel like a race car when you look at this. This looks like it could be from a Yaris or a Celica, or, well, you know, it is from a Celica and from a Yaris, really. It doesn't feel particularly special, even with, you know, these red inserts and the red seats. It's only really when you look out over the bonnet and you see the curves and you see the, you know, the shape of the windscreen, how low you are, that you feel sporty. The rest of the interior doesn't give that vibe. What I will say about it being a parts bin car, what you find is that because Toyota uses such a small parts bin, the parts are quite well engineered. So, for example, this steering wheel, which, I'm going to yank over to make sure that kind of fits. It's very small, it's very easy to grip, it's nice material to hold, and it's like the perfect sort of size and shape for this car. And I've got a perfect view at the dials, which are, okay, nothing exciting, but they are perfectly sized, perfectly functional, and most notably, the most important gauge for me to see is the rev counter, because they know full well if I'm buying this car, I'm putting down some serious times everywhere I go. Now, as it's starting to get a bit gloomy, I think it's time to put the roof up and see what it's actually like to drive out there on the road. So, let's go do that. So, earlier in the review, you probably saw me throw this out for a comedic sort of purpose. I didn't realise it accidentally took my brake fluid reservoir cap off with it. On this. And flung it way down into the car. It's a good job we saw that before we drove off. That would have been a bit awkward. So what is it like to drive sort of in terms of handling? Realistically, its competitor is the Mazda MX-5 NB. And the NB is a much easier car to drive, especially on the limit. The Mazda I've always found very cooperative, very communicative. If you want it to go sideways, it'll go sideways. If you want it to go straight, it'll go straight. It's very at one with you, and it feels incredibly sort of easy. This is a bit more of a challenge, and that's kind of why I bought it. The MR2 is just a little bit more twitchy. It can bite you. It does sometimes go, actually, you know what? I don't like you, and I am going to put you in this hedge. As evidenced by the time it put me in that hedge. It happens to the best of us. You have to kind of be on your game a bit more with this. It's not as bad as, say, a Lotus or a second-gen MR2. It's not quite as finicky as they are, but it is certainly a bit more of a challenge. The thing is, well, when you drive an aggressive sports car, people expect you to drive like you have an ASBO. People think you're gonna be, you know, hooning it up and down the lanes. With a car that's so cute on the outside and very friendly looking, which this is, you don't really get that. And I think the ultimate expression of that is the horn. It's so polite and happy and kind. I love that. So overall, what is the driving experience like? I mean, I'm probably going to surprise no one when I say the lightweight rear-wheel drive sports car is fun to drive. It's kind of the whole point. But would I recommend one to you if you were trying to buy your first sports car? Well, all right, no one should let me on dust. That was too much fun. Hopefully I'm not going to get in trouble for that, or the practice attempts we had.
A few moments later.
The police haven't come, so we can wrap the review up. So, would I recommend this as a first sports car? If you want to dip your toes into the sports car market, you know, that kind of thing. If you've never had them before, would I recommend it? No. The reality is these didn't sell well, and you'd think on paper they're a great sports car. They're light, the engine's fairly reliable, it is mid-engined, it's the right layout kind of thing. But it didn't sell well because the MX-5 was better. As a car for a beginner, for an everyday car, it's a lot more practical, it's a lot more communicative. If you want an MX-5 to slide, you tell it to slide and it goes. You want it to go back straight again, you tell it to go straight again and it does. The MX-5 doesn't argue with you, it doesn't fight you, it is compliant. The main reason I bought this instead of having the MX-5 is it is that bit more of a challenge. If you've had a sports car before, if you've had fast cars before, that's when I'd say start looking at something like this. If you've never had an experience of selling rear-wheel drive, if you've never had experience of selling an engine, they can be a bit finicky. They're not as bad as the second gen. The second gen was a lot more finicky. That is sort of the next step up from this. But first time sports car, wouldn't recommend. Second time, then you're more sort of on the mark. That's what I'd say with these. And I'd also say they're better off when they're a second car, when they're not your everyday thing. Because again, the lack of the boot does become a challenge at times. You know, the expensive things like headlights. I mean, on the facelifts, they're £250 a side. I'd buy the pre-facelift because all the parts are a lot cheaper, and in my opinion, they generally look a little bit better too. So yeah, that's the wrap up on that. You know, if you want to see more of these, please like, subscribe, comment, send it to your boss, tell him you're not coming in on Monday because you like that. Yeah, if you want to support the channel, please feel free to donate to the PayPal or the Patreon. If you get on the Patreon, you will have access to the Discord server and various bonus footage that will be coming in the future, etc., from fairly low prices and all that sort of thing. I'm trying to do the YouTubery stuff. I'm not very good at it. I'm not very new to this, so please, you know, bear with me there. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, guys, and I hope I'll see you again. So, don't know what time zone you're in, but good morning, good evening, good night, or whatever. Ta-ra. Joe told me off because I completely forgot to do it. If you want to get your car reviewed, please message me on Instagram at Mr. Twinspark. I will get back to you eventually. I'll put you in a database on this. There will be a while between you submitting your car and it being reviewed, but we try and get around to everyone we can. But yeah, so thanks again. Good night. I'm here to steal your children. I'm going to sell them to a glue factory. I'm not turning them into glue, they're just cheap labour. So, you know, I could talk about penguins and I can talk about all the things I'm going to do to the crown, the estates, I don't know, the exhaust. I'm trying to think of funny things to say to try and break you doing this, and it's not really working. It's not, you're getting too used to working with me. So I'm just going to point at things vaguely. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're witnessing is my partner deciding to tie my laces.
So they don't come undone.
I can tie my own laces. They're fine.
You're an actor, you can't do knots.
Do you say I'm an actor? I can't do knots.
No, actor.
Oh, an air cadet. I mean, you're not wrong. This is the abuse I get. Just to make art for you at home, the viewer, the listener. Oh, I'm receiving love. I'm not giving. Ah, on camera. They're gonna pay for that. The one thing as well with this is it's surprisingly high ground clearance, so you can actually kind of, as we leave this gravel car park, go a bit faster than maybe you would in a lower car, like say an Alfa Romeo GTV, because it just kind of does go over all the bumps. It is happy to do that. It's a very standard thing for it. It's very hard not to try and get it sideways a bit on gravel, because I'm a chump, really. Anyway, that's the wrap up on this. I've lost this, damn it. Oh, it was going so well as well.